starting to hit me.
And we're live, and I am once again in just worked out chic. I am joined this week by the wonderful, beautiful Mike White. How you doing, Mike?
Oh my God! I don't know. You're giving me the vapors.
I don't have Tom, so I gotta suck up to somebody. And Jay. How you doing, Jay?
I'm out of here.
So without Tom, does that mean I have to fill? Does that mean I have to?
Nope.
Fill in for Tom.
Don't try to Tom voice.
And
we just accept Tom's
I
language.
will talk and yeah, I got nothing.
Please.
Damn it.
All right. So before we get started, a couple things. First thing, for anybody who's joined the Married with Clicks community group and had a little bit of a long wait time on the approval thing, I had a little bit of a problem with Facebook, and it was logging me in as the Married with Clicks group and not as myself to approve you. So I apologize for the wait, but I figured out that problem, and we shouldn't have that problem going forward. That is the Facebook Married with Clicks community group for discussion and stuff like that. We just try to keep the bots out as best we can. But without further ado, we start every show, as we usually do, with what we've been up to this week in the game of Hero Clicks. Mike, what you been up to?
Oh my God, what did I do this week? Oh yeah, Thursday, I got to go play Hero Clicks because I was not working. So usually that means I can actually go to a weekday event. It was the release event for Thing, right? That's what I played.
Regenesis?
Regenesis. That's it. I knew we opened stuff. That's what threw me off. I'm like, we opened Thing, and it was X-Men things. So it could be very confusing when you're opening.
We got X-Men animated going and X-Men Regenesis going,
right?
And you're opening packs before you play. It's confusing.
That's what I'm saying. It's confusing, especially for me because I went to 401 games and I missed month one and month 2 there. So I really just went because I'm like, you know what, I'll go play. And I knew I had to open packs, which, I don't know if I should have spent that money, but whatever. I got the last rare I needed, so that was nice. And again, it was one of those things where I know I'm going to have less chances to play coming up, so I thought I'd go. I got to open 12 packs because, again, they were doing 4 per month, and I missed the first 2 months. I didn't really care about winning, and I just went with another Jean Grey school theme team. I had one of everybody. I was playing a little bit of Highlander there, so I had I went full points at everybody. So full point Wolverine, full point Beast, full point Gambit, full point Angel, full point Kitty Pryde. Comes out to 400 points. And my first game was against Jay.
Ugh.
Right? Like, if anything's going to turn you off of HeroClix, it's like start the tournament against him. Especially because my dice were horrible. Oh my God, our game was painful.
That's an understatement.
Like, they were so bad, I couldn't even believe it. Like, I accepted I didn't need to win. I didn't care if I won. But I mean, when you're rolling nothing higher than 4s and 5s, it's a rough go. So
I think the 1 5-year-old was on a Super Senses that I had Precision Strike on.
That was the worst one. Every other Super Sense roll. Normally, people know I'm known for Super Senses and Shape Chain rolls. Like, oh my God, if that was a winning lottery ticket, I won the lottery a bunch of times. I never once rolled Super Senses. The one time I actually rolled a roll that would have normally been a successful Super Sense, which was a 5, was against Precision Strike. So. Anyway, the lucky thing was Jay technically was the bye. So in spite of losing, I won. So, whatever. My second game was against Emily. Emily, how many Wolverines did Emily have? I don't remember.
Can't remember. She had two.
Didn't she?
She had two she had two at one store and three at the other.
Yeah, she had 2 at this one because she had 3 at
CBA
or whatever.
Jeez.
But I think she had 2 beasts as well. So 2 Wolverines, 2 beasts.
Give me a break.
And funnily enough, I had chances in the game. I actually genuinely had chances. But I did not have great dice in that game either. Slightly better than my game with Jay. I did take points. I did take a good chunk of points in the game. And then my third round game was against Kirk. Kirk, who I think was the runaway favorite to win the whole thing or something.
I mean, around month 2, we only had 2 people. It was like Emily month one, he got second. Then he won month 2, she got second. And they were each different factions. It was a conclusion already.
Yeah.
I prized out early, basically.
Pretty much. So it was a foregone conclusion, and I know how bad my dice were, so I just was like, whatever. Well, funnily enough, my dice infected Kirk's dice, and then my dice decided to do a whole bunch of great things, and I proceeded to wipe out his team, and I think I only lost Kitty Pryde in the whole thing. So funnily enough, I ended up going 2-1, and I actually won the event because of points. How weird was that? I was genuinely shocked when Jay said at the end that I actually won the event. Obviously, I didn't win the overall thing. Kirk did, and Jay already mentioned the prizing out. But anyway, I was glad I got to have the games in. I do like X-Men both as characters and, in general in the set. Other than having to face the horribleness of Emily's team, I didn't have to deal with as much over-the-top Wolverine-ness. And I think it really helps too when you're playing an event you so don't care about in this format, because we already know that Wolverine's he's gross and he's broken. So it was a fun Thursday night. That was it. There was a game yesterday. I ended up not being able to go. Had to spend time with my wife. We haven't got to see each other a lot lately with work and everything, and so I missed out on that. I know. She's put up with me for almost 10 years, and nobody else managed to last that long. So
I've been here that long with you.
Actually, we have known each other in and around that
16-ish years.
I think I have. I mean, technically, I've known her longer than you because we went to high school together. But
then that's ancient news.
But dating wise, yes. The only reason she when she first saw my place again with all the hero clicks all over the place, like I think I had a Foom and a Galactus out or whatever. You may not want to necessarily have those things out if you're dating, guys. Just so you know, it's a little bit of a scare thing. I was lucky she knew me well enough that when she saw them, she's like, "He's a big man child." Well, he was a big man child back then too, so I guess that's all right.
I don't know what you're talking about. I met my wife at a HeroClix tournament.
We can't all be that lucky, my friends. We can't all be that lucky.
Jay, what you get up to this week?
I beat Mike at Evergenesis. That was fun. I actually had a surprisingly good Utopia team. I didn't know it was possible, but I had remember my previous polls had included a Storm and a Hope Summers. I ended up getting Magneto, a second Storm, and a Namor. And Namor was the last thing I actually really needed from the set, luckily. Defender's TA not being there aside. So I ended up running both Storms at full points, Hope at lower, and then Magneto and Namor at full. I can't remember how many. Add up to like 10 under or whatever. But you had Magneto with the running shot barrier and the 4-square thingy. Storms are really good. Hope is good. Copying Charge Flurry. Namor is pretty strong. So round 1 was against Mike. Round 2 was against Aiden, who was a little confused on how the whole system of buying extra packs because he missed previous months went, and he only played out of because he missed all of them, so he had 12 packs, but he only built out of 4 of them. So he had a 360-point team.
What he heard was the whole thing about your month 3 packs, which are 4 that you put aside that you can actually make trades from. In his head, those were the only 4 he was allowed to build from.
Yeah, something like that.
Got 12 boosters.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Because I wasn't going to let Mike and him trade from all of their boosters, just a couple, and then. But I mean, it was the buy round, so he had. What I did was for this size event, I did buy round normal half points, but if they scored more than that off of me, they would score that. But I ended up beating him. I think he actually scored 210. I think he actually scored 210 instead of 200, but he had just X-Men themes. So his Rachel Summers didn't have the free TK. His Beast didn't have extra stuff. He also had Hope Summers, who was only getting attack and damage powers, that sort of thing. So my team was kind of just better. And I had some pretty good dice rolls, and his Cyclops never really super sense out of anything, so I just killed it. And then I played against Devin last round, and I can apparently beat him in casual, but he always gets to beat me in actual competitive games that are important. So he had also Utopia. He had a low point Magneto, a Namor, a Cyclops, Danger. I think that was it. Basically, he said that the storms weren't good, and then the storms completely wrecked his face with because they have traded Force Blast, and then if they knock back a character, they can do a free attack. So I was just attacking and attacking and attacking, and he was like, "Oh," and I couldn't miss anything, and he couldn't hit anything, so that happened. And then everybody walked away with an Archangel because like half of the people there already had one from CBA or judging. We priced it pretty good. We still have extras of grand prizes and stuff. So if anybody's in the area and wants to come out and play at 401, we still have so many Regenesis maps to give out and so many prizes. So I'm pretty sure there's still a Gambit kicking around. Pretty much everything that isn't month one. And then Sunday or yesterday was basically 500 points modern. If you bring a comic accurate team, you get theme, or if you have like a random character missing one keyword, you can play it, whatever. I was going to play Jean Grey School theme so I could get the bonuses, but with Dupe, because Dupe doesn't have Jean Grey School, but the recent Call on the Motorcycle is literally from that run, so I felt like that was accurate enough. I had Spider-Man. I had a Spider-Man because at one point he was like he worked for them in some capacity, and but I ended up playing that team. I'll play it some other time. I ended up running just basically Girl Asgardians. I had the new Storm, obviously the Con. I had the new Moonstar, Thor set, Chase Valkyrie at 30 points, Jane Foster, Big Boss Hill, the movie set 50-point Valkyrie, who has like an aura. If characters were damaged, they get bonuses. If that's not 8 characters, I missed somebody. It was 8 characters. But if I would have thought about it, I would have brought the Chase Loki from Thor instead of Big Boss Hill. But Big Boss Hill was actually pretty good. We had 5 people instead of 6 because neither Devin or Mike could make it. So I ended up taking the round 1 bye. Round 2, I played against Kirk with a similar, with a not Jean Grey, but Jean Grey theme because he wanted to throw on like Dust and Hellion and like other comic accurate students. This one I could have won if we both had played a little bit faster. He had like a lot of stuff going on. He had a lot of TK between Rachel Summers and Hellion. Dust has Smoke Cloud, just a lot of stuff going on. And I picked a really bad map, so I didn't know how to approach him. I just let him do some TK yo-yoing to pick off stuff. And then last round I played against Glenn, who had just Shazams, or he had Shazams plus Prez, so he had the new 200-point Shazam, Mary Marvel, and Freddie Freeman, and then just random Prez. He was able to take out some of my littler pieces pretty quickly, like Jane and Valkyrie not taking misses of Invincible. He ended up picking protected opposing prob on Shazam just because the only outwit I had was Jane Foster turns into Thor, and then Thor turns into that one Captain America from What If with the alternate Earth trade, so didn't feel like that was going to be necessary. And his Shazam was just able to make attacks while also just sitting there, so he kept on stacking up his Zeus tokens to get all sorts of defense, and I just couldn't hit some crucial attack rolls. Ended up being pretty close, but he won, and he hasn't come out as much recently, so him winning the whole tournament was pretty cool. And again, we managed to prize out pretty good, and we still have a lot of Regenesis stuff to get rid of still. And then that was that. And I just found out today I'm not making Thursday, which makes me sad because I finally got my Chase Psylocke and I was going to play Uncanny X-Force, but some other time.
I only got my casual game in on Sunday, or casual tournament in on Sunday, over at Dolly's, our new store that we're running steps away from my place. My team for this event, assuming I got a chance to play, which I did, it was in a Magia themed team that happened to feature Taskmaster. It was 400 points golden, so it also had both Fancy Dans, both Oxes, Oxen. What else? Crime Master, the Rose, and I think that's pretty close. Oh, and Montana.
So almost Enforcers.
Almost Enforcers, but I wanted, because the Rose didn't have Enforcers, and he also had Hydra, I was able to do some real neat manipulation with the hired goons. Because the hired goons would then be able to carry Taskmaster, because he would have the Hydra key ability, or Hydra keyword, which they get off of the Rose anyway, and then they would get it off of every other guy, so they could all. It doesn't matter. Everybody had keywords that I could work off of. That was the beauty of it. But yeah, it worked out. It ended up working really well as a team. Just like the fact that everybody could carry everybody. There's enough sidestep to really just kind of motor the team along. And there's enough situations where the Underworld guys could carry two characters. It really kind of went a long way. And of course, because Taskmaster's a wild card, A-OK partner, right? So first round, I was up against Max, who usually kind of helps organize things over at the Comic Warehouse. He does that a lot less. Max was playing the Archangel and the Prize Magneto. This is casual play, so I kind of overlooked it. Along with a Colossus and what was it? It was an X-Men theme. Psylocke from Deadpool. It was a Golden Age thing. And then my second round was Amber, who was playing Krakoa. Just Krakoa at 400 points. Her goal was to play. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the old Krakoa map, and her and Aiden both brought Krakoa, so they wanted to play Krakoa versus Krakoa on Krakoa. It didn't end up working out because I am a failure in keeping track of my Golden Age maps. And then my third round was up against my daughter Alexis. We saw all the pictures. She's still got a lot of learning to go, and I really kind of took it easy on her, but the team just kind of worked for me. So, because numbers. She was playing Rachel Summers, Zatanna, Storm from the X-Men animated series, and Captain Marvel.
I thought I saw Mira on there too.
No, not Mira.
I thought there was somebody with red hair on there from that picture I saw.
Someone
There's a whole bunch of badass female characters.
Yeah, Alexis likes making all girl teams. It's
I so thought there was a Mira on there.
She likes Mira as a character, but she didn't put Mira on this week. Did I miss anything, Amber? Her team had 5 characters, didn't it?
No, it's Rachel, Zatanna, Storm, and Captain Marvel.
That's it, just the 4?
Oh, Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy, there it is.
That was the redhead.
Yeah.
I knew there was a redhead and some green.
Alexis is also a big fan of Poison Ivy, so because of the superhero girls. It was a good time having 6 of us out at Dolly's. It's nice to have a venue. They now have, if you're interested in the game and you're in the area, we have lots of quick start kits sitting at that store ready for you guys to grab. So if you're new to the game and so on, grab them there. We're going to have some maps in there next week so you can really get started in the game. That aside, we're looking forward to the game now. ROCtober is the end of next month, so just a little more than a month away. And beyond that, we have Rock States. ROCtober itself, we're going to have, in singles, there's going to be a sealed event using X-Men Animated and a team event that's actually going to use Highlander across the entire team. So each person can only use like the entire team of 3 can only use 1 copy of figure. So like if player A is using collector, B and C can't use collector. If player A is using Kobig, B and C can't use Kobig. So if you want to build that team, you got to move it across the table, or you got to say this guy's using that team, and then you got to build 2 other viable teams on top of that. It's a really interesting format, and I think it was one of the first ways they ran teams. And I know we're going to go into more detail about that next week. This week we didn't really plan it out. This week we wanted to kind of use our abilities of hindsight and experience and talk about what we've learned from playing X-Men Animated Sealed and what you want to know from those experiences going into this particular event. So, you're going to have a bunch of people playing Sealed for a singles championship. This gets you like a bunch of rock level points, correct? Or WizKids points? Jay, help me out.
WKO points, or whatever they're called now.
Yes. So, WizKids points as they were. Yeah, so that said, I'm going to let Mike start. From your hindsight and views of X-Men Animated, is there anything... Let's start with what caught you off guard versus what you... like. So, we said some figures weren't going to be that great. Did anything kind of change your mind over gameplay?
I can't say off the top of my head of one that I specifically thought wouldn't be good and then turned out to be really good. I will say that I was impressed with how well 300-point Juggernaut actually does play. You really can't underestimate that figure. I am not a fan of tent poles. And that is obviously the ultimate one-man army tent pole, playing one figure at 300. I don't like those teams because my dice do not play well enough to handle a single figure team. But he still can run rough through this set. I think you definitely want to look at him at 200 points and build him into a theme team. Because with the way that the Brotherhood TA works and his trait works, if you win map and get him on the underground map, like guys taking tokens off and healing all over the place. It's pretty ridiculous. I think Nimrod is scary as heck. You just can't deny that it's not a good situation when you're afraid to roll dice against your opponent's figure, because there's nothing you could do about it, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how good a roll you have, doesn't matter what perplexes, doesn't matter any of that stuff. Once you've rolled your dice, your opponent gets to roll his dice, and his might be better than yours, and then you're doing damage to your own figures. So I hate Nimrod and love Nimrod all at the same time. I think he's pretty brutal. I guess I'll say I was surprised by him in that I had to face him at one point, and that's when I really realized how nasty he can be. Because I tried using the Danger Room Magneto to circumvent what I thought was a way to circumvent that whole damage thing, but what actually happens is it says you get dealt their damage value or whatever, and that somehow supersedes the Danger Room thing.
The Danger Room thing is based on attacks, and because it's not
that's
attack,
why.
Yeah.
It's not an attack. That was the reasoning behind it. So, yeah, Nimrod's pretty hardcore. Also, I have to throw in I was surprised, now that I think about it, I was surprised about that wonderful merging of Magneto and Sentinel-1. Both are robot keyword. It's only 120 points for those 2 figures, and Magneto becomes the most amazing pilot for that thing. The power choices are great too, right? You've got range combat expert that you can pick off of Magneto. The 12 attack is gross. So those are some things that sort of came up on my radar in playing in the sealed format. I think overall, I will say that I mean, it's not a new thing to really build theme, man. Like, building theme is so important. Having probability control is so important. It still comes up. There's a lot of good themes to build from in this set. I think Brotherhood is almost better than X-Men in this set. I've just seen so many different ways to build with that. Yeah, I mean, it's yammerings, it's butterings on my side here. I feel like there's so much to tell, but those are just some of the things that sort of popped up in my experience with it so far.
All right.
You also got wrecked by Onslaught, didn't you? Locally? You were not happy about that.
No, I mean, Onslaught is a gross figure because of the whole. I mean, it's like triple target, 9 range. You move and then you just get the mind control. So sure, yeah, Onslaught. Maybe I wanted to block that out of my memory because I hate facing him so much. I think I was more scarred by him in the battle royals because the Onslaught was just absolutely ridiculous in battle royals, and it just you really were rooting for somebody else to actually open an Onslaught as well in your battle royal, so you'd have 2, because then those people usually ended up getting in each other's faces, and you could sort of sneak around as like ants under their feet. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's still sealed, it's still single sealed, so yeah, I guess he's still going to be pretty tough to deal with in that environment. I guess my head, I don't know how far he'll go once we get into the constructed world. I think there's a lot of things that can sort of mitigate what he does and take him apart a little bit. But, what do I know? It's young.
We're still getting sealed.
Yeah, still.
Jay, anything that you think may have performed a little better than you would have thought?
I have very little sealed experience. I played one sealed normal event and one battle royale. But from what I saw, Easton was having 5-minute games with his stealth sentinel, because you're only paying 200 points, psychic blast, 13 attack, 5 damage. Quite difficult to kill. That's probably one of the bigger things to watch out for. Devin had a really good Brotherhood theme team with, I think, both the Brotherhood keyword danger rooms. So Magneto and Sabretooth. I'm imagining Sabretooth did about as good as you would expect. I haven't seen much of the chases, or I didn't see much of the chases in sealed, at least at teams. No opinion really on any of the super rares that I'm looking at. I just didn't see very much of them outside of Emily playing Archangel. Brotherhood theme is quite good, obviously. I mean, there are good X-Men teams to be built, but I feel like you're just more likely to see the Brotherhood ones. When I played against Scott Porter locally at our sealed, he wrecked me with just like a swarm team, but basically a bunch of acolytes and some other random stuff. They actually managed to swarm pretty good against my Cyclops Sentinel at 150, one Cable, and Colossus super rare. I'm trying to see what else.
I also got to say, speaking of that, acolytes and Brotherhood, Amelia Voigt, she is even better than we already were talking about. The combination of that special damage power with the fact that she could pick somebody with Brotherhood or X-Men to get Mastermind is huge because it works together. So you can hit the target. Like her with Juggernaut were so wonderful together because you hit Juggernaut Masterminds off to her. If she doesn't have any tokens, she can choose to then give herself 2 tokens and just take 1 unavoidable damage. What an amazing Mastermind fodder. Plus the Perplex. Plus, Amelia Voigt. What a great uncommon figure. She's only an uncommon. So if you're building sealed and you pull Amelia Voigt, you definitely need to look at finding a way to make a theme team that she gets on as a support figure because she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jay.
I was pretty much done anyway. I'm just looking through the whole set. I just don't see anything that was that anomalous to what we said. I guess the only one thing to keep in mind is to be careful with your Vange Weedens, because if you click to the click 25 and then you get pushing damage, you're going to just die.
That's unavoidable damage.
Yeah, same as all those other effects. Yeah. So probably watch out for that one. Maybe don't necessarily do that every single game. I can't think of off the top of my head. Or I think Onslaught does get in-cap as an option. So
it's one of his free options.
Look at what your opponent has for action tokens, because that Earthbound is going to get you.
Earthbound is going to get you. As far as overperformers that I was seeing, what was it? It was I know I wasn't as high as on Onslaught as I should have been, and once seeing him in action and watched him step on my face all over the place, I take back anything I kind of poo-pooed about him, or I kind of went Red Onslaught, I know I was high on for constructed and not so high on for sealed. I take it back. 9 range is amazing. Being able to token somebody and remove a token on leadership is amazing as well. What else can I think of? The Assassin's Guilds, I think, did more damage than they ever deserved to over the course of the weekend. I mean, almost everybody has a story of, I charged Blaze with my Assassin's Guild and did 5 damage. He's the new Teakle. Because Teakle doesn't roll less than a 5 or 6 when you're rolling Blades. And Fabian Cortez is another one where I kind of look at it and go, why was I ever down on this guy? Because +1 to stats is amazing. The small price of taking damage can be dealt with in a lot of cases. In my particular case, I in one situation was able to Fabian Cortez my onslaught, and then the next turn after taking damage, X-Men team his health back. But we go from overperformers to underperformers. Is there anything that you thought was going to be a lot better than it turned out to be? What about you, Jay? We'll start with you. Is there anything in the set that you looked at and said, this is not doing as well as I would have thought it would have done? He's making faces at me with the mute. You muted, Jay.
Yeah. I think I got that when you said it the first time. I just didn't see enough to say, but I'm inclined to say I don't really think we overestimated anything as much as underestimated a couple things. I guess I didn't see as much Exodus or as much as I would have thought, just considering his trait, I guess, is the main one. And I just didn't see much of the way of chases at all. Like, I don't remember seeing any chases being played, really. So that could have just been what I was seeing, but...
All right. Mike?
Well, Exodus wasn't very good in the in battle royals, I'll tell you that. In almost every situation where I saw an Exodus played in a battle royal, myself included, Exodus died and died quickly and was like just giving up big points to other people. But I don't know if I ever expected him to be a massive performer. And again, there's a difference between how a figure plays in a battle royal, obviously, than how it plays in a straight up one-on-one format, because you're getting hit from all sides, as it were. Yeah, much like Chase said, I don't know if there was anybody we were really looking at and going, oh, no. I got to play that super rare prime Storm in a battle royal, and same kind of scenario, really let me down. Didn't play anywhere as well as I thought it would. But to be fair, I think that also was a mistake a lot of people were having, I noticed, was my Colossal is going to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not a Colossal.
Yeah, it is not actually, Shadow King. It's just Storm.
It's a standard size figure, man. And you're like, oh, what? So that happened a lot. So I feel like that kind of skewed the focus group or the results, as it were, because there were missteps people were making with these 2x2 figured figures, 2x2 based figures. They were misplaying them. A lot of times people were playing things as Colossals when they were standard, or it was a giant instead of a Colossal, or whatever it was. So there's a bit of a anomalous, an asterisk, as you were, that you might have to put next to sort of any impressions. But yeah, I really can't think of anything that, like, Madrox doesn't really do anything, but it's surprisingly hard to kill.
Yeah. I think that almost overperformed based on, like, we looked at it and said, that looks like crap. Oh, it's just not going to die. Okay. Well, that's better than we thought.
Yeah, like, that's kind of the only reason I mentioned it, is it doesn't want to die way better than I thought it wasn't going to die. It just looked like a really big figure that maybe could be fun thematically, but I didn't see it bringing much to the table. But yeah, man, it dies hard. It really dies hard. It's surprising. Yeah, I can't think of anything else, man, that really jumps out at me.
I saw somebody playing Madrox being masterminded too, so it would kick off the doesn't KO trait, but then it was hit, so it would generate another one. I don't remember who the mastermind character was, but it was obnoxious. I think it was Red Onslaught. I think that's like the
That's awesome.
That's even more obnoxious.
That's amazing.
Gross.
Guy's my hero. I do have a little bit of underperformance that I noticed. One of which is the chases overall. They don't dominate. Like pulling a chase in this does not guarantee you a win at all. In fact, they're just kind of good in some cases, and in other cases, they're almost kind of hard to play in sealed. Like Harry Leland is almost impossible to play in sealed on his own. And I like Sebastian Shaw, but he has a hard time with an uncommon. Same and Jason Wingard, a lot of his strength comes from being able to manipulate bystanders and uses mind control. And it's not easy with him. But that said, they're not great. They're just not overperforming. What I do want to point out is that Tom pointed out that Outwit was really good in the set, and I want to say that underperformed drastically. In almost every situation that both my own single sealed experiences and in my experience in team sealed. In team sealed, I happen to run across like a Dark Phoenix almost every time, or some kind of power cosmic dude, which was annoying in its own. And then you look at it and you say, well, there's a lot of dudes that just kind of don't worry about your outwit because they're there before the character with outwit is even remotely a threat or is able to threaten. And I think, and there's just so many of the good threats. Like again, Onslaught is an uncommon who is immune to outwit. So many characters outrange the characters with outwit. They all have like 9 range and stuff like that. So as a result, I think outwit underperforms as much as we kind of said how important it is. It's not a bad power per se, but don't hamstring your team just to get it on. I think is kind of a message that almost got thrown out by us, and I want to just be clear on that. Is it didn't perform as well as I thought it would because there's so many things that just say I don't care about your outwit. So. But yeah, so these are kind of the kinds of things you want to look at when you get into that singles main event at ROCtober. Next week we'll talk about maybe even come up with some ideas for building across 3 teams, because that's going to be a tricky thing to look forward to, and we'll probably put some more work into that next week. But if we're just going to kind of take it easy this week and go straight to questions, I think at this point, because it's kind of a light week, not much is going on. X-Men comes out this Wednesday out in the United States, so it gives you guys a chance to get your hands on it now that we have a little bit of hindsight of sealed on us.
Because we already have it. We already have it. Yeah.
And anybody in the U.S., let us have this.
We don't get much, damn it.
Usually we're the ones who get what you guys are experiencing right now, so... But with that said, I want to take a second to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. Whoops. Look at that. The patron Discord, which I put up on the channel a second ago. And just kind of say thanks to those guys. If you want to join us at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks, any support kind of goes a long way. And every so often I can send these guys a little bit of a gift of financial thank you, as it were. As well, I want to point out that our Patreon Hangout will not be the first Sunday of the month this month around, because I'm a pro wrestling fan, and Hell of the Cell is on the first Sunday of the month, so the 13th of October will be our next Patreon Hangout. So you have until the 13th of October to become a patron and join in on the Patreon Hangout. Every so often I also get these guys to do it. Not this month, but soon. Eventually. They're due. They're not due. All right, that said, we're going to move to Facebook first. If you're in the chat, capital letters question in front of your question, if you have any. And just kind of a foresight, next week we're going to talk about that wacky triples format for ROCtober, and then after that, we're probably going to spend a lot of time talking about the proper format and states going into November. Wrestling, WWE is around the corner. There's lots to go on about. So... we'll have plenty to babble on, but this week's kind of a light week. We'll take it easy on you guys. And plus, I want to play Borderlands 3.
I'm still in the plastic, man.
Yes, but I got it to you.
I know, I got it. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to play this.
All right. So first up, David Crichton, who's also one of our patrons, as a matter of fact. If I'm building a mind control-based team for Pauper Highlander, what do I most have to worry about? There's not a ton of Battle Fury in the format, but of course there is that Danger Room Sabretooth who will have Battle Fury. And I know Onslaught's going to be your nightmare because he can use mind control, but you can't use it on him. So if you're focusing on mind control, maybe have a backup plan because there's things that just don't care about mind control. That would be my takeaway. What about you, Mike?
It would be to use Onslaught. I mean, if you're building for mind control, really that's where I'd start. Mostly because of the fact that he ignores hindering for line of fire, on top of the fact that he's already huge and sees everything. Because my first response to a team that's using mind control usually is stealth. Because I'm assuming in most cases people often forget about the fact that you can close combat mind control. Yep. So usually if they're building a mind control team, there's a bit of an assumption there that you're building a ranged mind control team. Like you want to keep your team at a distance and you want to manipulate your opponent's team. So stealth is a nice, super easy way to avoid the mind control problem in a lot of situations, right?
Unless you're using Onslaught.
Unless you're using Onslaught, which is why I did mention Onslaught. But in the Pauper format, I don't think there's actually a lot of mind control with improved targeting that ignores hinder.
Just Onslaught, I think.
So hence why stealth is a nice, easy way. There's a lot of great common and uncommon Batman family figures who don't even have to take up a movement slot, power slot to have stealth with the Batman TA. So that would be my first response, especially because Jay also mentioned Battle Fury. That's a nice, easy one to have in there too.
Remember, he's the one building the mind control team, so he doesn't want to pack this stuff. He wants to be aware of this stuff.
That's what I mean. So you mentioned Battle Fury is something to be afraid of. Stealth is something to be afraid of. Man, I guess the only other thing you have to be aware of is if you end up coming across teams that are less that don't really generate damage themselves. I don't know how much we're going to see in the Pauper format since it's new, and I know we're still going to see ID call-ins. So there could still be those teams that are built more around low damage figures who just do a lot of call-ins. So the drawback to a mind control team is you almost don't have anybody worth mind controlling. You know what I'm saying? If you're trying to mind control your opponent's team to beat up on itself, my team from Nationals is a great example. I had a figure who does 0 damage. I had a figure who does 1 damage. I had another figure who does 2 damage. Like, that's my top damage output if you ignore my Mangog. It's like there's a lot of stuff on my team that doesn't do damage. So if you're trying to mind control my team to beat itself up, that's a bit of a drawback. So you may come across teams like that. So I think you may have to have some kind of backup damage output thought, if that makes sense, in my crazy ramblings.
No, you're good. Jay?
It's funny you said there was not much Battle Fury because of the very limited amount of equipment in the environment. There is one that does get Battle Fury with the Blood Axe.
Yep. Love the Blood Axe.
I don't know how common it's going to be, but it is worth considering. I think it's one of only 2 options. I think it's literally... No, that's not true. It's
there's the Blood Axe,
Asgardian Shield,
and there's the Asgardian Shield.
Yeah, so...
At least. It might be one other. I don't think there is another.
I'm pretty sure it's literally just those, because Earth X, the lowest rarity one, was a rare. So, same with Batman, or are they all super rare? Either way, it's one of 3 options, and depending on what people play, it could be there. You might want to exploit to deal with heavy reducers on the Colossals, I don't know. But it could be worth not going all in on mind control, just because you never know.
Yeah.
Also, don't mind control Nimrod. That's a bad idea.
Yep, because that's an attack.
That's an attack.
That's the grossest part.
You'll just be hurting yourself.
Absolutely. Basically, you're doing an attack that's not dealing damage. Oh no, wait, all of a sudden it's doing damage to myself.
Just shoot him. In fact, if you watch Into the Mind of Madness, don't even perplex up your attacking Nimrod. That's actually a bad value proposition.
Absolutely.
You're better off trying to go for the 8 or 9 and propping it, because then it's harder for them to roll out of it.
Yeah, you kind of have to recondition your brain to like, oh man, I need to make this roll as low as possible to hit. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you want to make sure that you roll a 10 or higher. That's what you want.
All right, next up, Stephen Clark Jr. First, it was awesome to see you all again and chat with you guys. I'm really glad, Jason, that you like your Finn Balor. My demon.
He loves it.
I love my demon.
He was gushing about
I
it.
was so it was the first thing that went in my luggage when I was packing before my
I'm
clothes.
wondering how sticky the package is now.
It's
Whoa.
fine. This guy, on the other hand, he's not so. uh, I gave you was the whole event was awesome. What was your favorite moment from Worlds? I have two. One that was having such a back and forth match with the former world champ Tyler Spees, and second was going 4-1 and making top 32 for the first time. Congratulations. This is three questions so to think about. The first one is your favorite moment from Worlds. What is your favorite piece to pull and play from the Battle Royales? Mine was Scanner. Her Astral Scanner Pog is fun. So what was your favorite? So first is, what's your favorite moment from Worlds? What's your favorite piece to pull in the Battle Royales? And do you think WizKids will fix the Proteus barrier problem before it begins? Sorry for this post being so long and having so many questions. It's okay. We love lots of questions, and that's why we started the questions a little early today. All right. So what was my favorite moment from Worlds? Everything about it not being part of a convention. That's my big takeaway. Like, that's my favorite part of the whole thing. Everything was awesome because I wasn't overwhelmed by a convention, overwhelmed by cost, and it was close enough to the hotel that I could back and forth easily in case I did happen to get enough things that I was like, maybe I should bring some of this back, then come back. It wasn't a terrible walk, and there was also shuttles available if required. My favorite piece to pull to play in the Battle Royales was anything named Onslaught. I played Red Onslaught in one. And it was just a matter of, like, I didn't attack most of the time with him. Most of the time I was leadership action tokening people. So that was probably one of my top figures to play in a Battle Royale, along with Madrox, and watching people go, how do I deal with this? And do I think WizKids will fix the Proteus barrier problem? And this being the green Proteus who can make a barrier on, like, costed actions within, like, he can make a piece of blocking terrain within 3 squares of somebody who's made a costed action. I hope that they clarify something about it, or they kind of say a for each character with this trait or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't predict this sort of thing. I hope that they do. Mike.
Hold on. Am I muted?
You're not muted.
No. Okay, thank God. I went to another screen because I had to scroll back through the figures from the set to remind myself all the things I pulled.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question was favorite moment.
Yeah.
And I got to say, that's really hard because it was a fantastic weekend. I agree with Jason that having it be just about HeroClix, well, having it just be WizKids, which for us is just HeroClix, was fantastic. If I have to pick a favorite moment, it's a bit of a cheat. I'm gonna say every battle royal I played in because everybody was so much fun. We had so many fun battle royals, so many great people that and I always feel bad at these things. I said it before, I forget names so easily, but I see faces and I'm like, I know this person. So there was a lot of people that I remember being really excited that we got to play battle royals with. So lots and lots of fun games, both with my friends who came with me and my extended friends from all over the United States. Yeah, every battle royal was just so much fun. We're all excited, like kids at Christmas, getting to open the X-Men set before like everybody else, and seeing all these things come out. Like even in games where someone had an onslaught and was kind of running crazy, there was at least one other person at the table I always found who was in it like I was, to have fun and was laughing and was just into it. I laughed so much that weekend, just like it was amazing. So if I have to pick one thing, I'm gonna say battle royals because laughs abound and lots of cool pulls and fun times. Favorite figure to pull, go based off of everything that happened. I mean, really, I should probably say it was Juggernaut because he played really well for me in the team constructed. I went 4-1 with him. He's super gross. And in fact, when we had our release event here in Toronto, I pulled him again and I played him again and he was gross again. So Juggernaut's really fun to pull and really fun to play. But I got to give him a tie with regular Morph. There was a battle royal I played in and I was getting owned with every one of my figures except for Morph. I literally had Morph left. And he was rolling a 6 with shape change all over the place and making other people beat up on their own guys. And I think Tom was in that game with me. We just started chanting Morph for a while. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I'll say Morph and Juggernaut were my two favorite sort of pulls. And the last question, yeah, they better errata that. I'm sorry. That's another one of those. There's always somebody out there who finds a way to just manipulate the wording. Was this Adam Friedman? Did he do this? Is this his
I
fault?
first heard it from Michael Love, but I don't know if it was. It sounds like a Friedman problem,
Right? Like, it's
What's
like,
the wording issue? I'm confused.
Okay,
well,
so-
it's basically you're making barrier, like insane amount of barrier.
The way Proteus works is, let me just read it out loud so that we can.
No, I'm just asking if it's a wording thing or if it's just a broken ability.
It's just a broken ability if you have more than one of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the theory crafting on playing a lot of him is scary.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
I mean, it's no. I think it could become something that needs to be looked at, hopefully before States, because
Especially with 10
I mean,
points a pop.
Come on.
there's a
Structural-
reason why
Do
people
I need
are.
to mention structural integrity field?
Well, okay.
again?
In defense of States and States is Popper, the green Proteus is not going to be in Popper.
No.
And
Oh yeah, because it's a Highlander and it's also
rare,
yeah.
right? So this
Okay.
is,
Yeah.
but in your standard modern age, you can play 2 or 3 of these alone. Like people were talking about like 4 or 5 of them. It's like 2 or 3 alone is enough of a nightmare when you're making 3 pieces of blocking terrain off of a costed action, and they're using it in conjunction with Starro, the costed action coming from the Starro fights.
Yep.
That doesn't count towards your action total. So, like, 3 of them move. If one of them moves, I made 3 barrier markers or 3 blocking terrain markers, and I move another one, I made 3 more. Like 3 of these starfights move, I made 9 blocking terrain markers. 4 with barrier is enough, you know. So,
Or you could just get to the situation where people are playing like 10 of them, because I honestly think that could be viable.
and that's the thing. People are talking about more than 3. They're talking about like 6 to 8, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
jeez Louise.
That's gross. It's
Yeah.
just back to sucking the fun out of the game. Like, I'm just going to make walls. I'm just make walls. What was that old video game where you went around and you made walls and stuff? Wasn't that like part of Centipede at one point or
Might have
something
been
stupid
part
like
of
that?
Bomberman, wasn't it?
Something like that. Lame.
Anyway, Jay. Best moments
Uh,
in worlds.
yeah,
favorite
I have it in front of me.
Okay, cool.
Favorite moment was,
Clicks dumpster diving.
I despise you.
That
My
was
favorite
our
moment
favorite
from-
moment to videotape.
Oh my god. My favorite, I guess, moments, because it's a total package deal, is both one of the team's members and the singles world champions being Jewish was pretty cool for me. There's like 3 of us. There's like 4, there's like 2 really good ones. There's Adam and Isaac, and then like I play sometimes, and there's like a couple others, but that was pretty cool for me. That's kind of cheating, but again, it's both worlds. But it was kind of funny that Isaac had to knock Adam out in actual worlds at one point. That was a little sad. I have only played 1 battle royale, so that was Juggernaut, because just I think he's the only one in the set with the mass destruction trait. So his swing is the map. So you're gonna make some attacks. And he's immune to onslaught mind control to start, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I think Proteus could become a problem, and that's why you're seeing his price being so high and people going for a lot of him, which I think could be a mistake right now, just because don't overinvest in something that seems so obviously broken, especially at that price. But who knows? Not me.
All right. Sorry. Saying goodnight to Amber there. All right. Next up, Matt Donham. What is worse to be tricked into receiving? A Colossus ID or a Professor X ID? I'm going to say Colossus ID. Because it's just objectively worse. Although it's probably better now. At the time I was receiving them, objectively worse. Though I do believe this game is now going to turn me into one of those weird jerks where it's like I don't shake people's hands anymore. Or you see, all you guys are like, I love the show and handing me ID cards. You ruined it for everybody else. What about you, Mike?
I'm afraid to answer this question because I was going to mention how I have not fallen victim to that game yet. So I can't tell you what's worse. I can
That's
tell you that the best way to hand them off is not to do handshakes. You need to get creative, like hotel room keys and so forth. That's what
I
you
was
do.
I was circling around during teams. I saw Devin Trace sitting there, and I sneak one of the ID cards into his pile of cards. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I
And it's
shook his hand right before the event and handed him one too.
oh my god, you guys are so gullible. My favorite part with that was when, in official capacity, they gave me ID cards to hand out, and I immediately looked for the two Colossuses and immediately gave them to Emily. That was good.
All right. Next up. Charles Gibbon, with younger kids, how hard is it to competitively play and go to tournaments? This is one of those questions that I have to answer very safely because literally every kid is different. My daughter is going to be a little harder to get into competitive tournaments as it is going to tournaments. She's got issues with attention, and as a result, holding her attention for 3 rounds is hard enough. Trying to hold her for like 5-6 rounds, more if she does well, is going to be pretty difficult. So if I can kind of help meter that, your child is your kind of meter for that. You have to kind of understand how each kid works differently and their interest levels. So it'll be based on what are they in it for, how deeply interested in it, how invested in it are they, how excited for it are they, and then go from there. I do believe you'll have to wait till like 13 14 12 13 14 before you can consistently get like a kid to be really into the tournament scene. This is from my personal experiences, and right now I have a 10-year-old daughter who's really just getting into the game, so it's hard to kind of gauge her entire behavior based on like a limited number of tournaments. But this has kind of been my experience so far. What are your thoughts there, Mike?
Well, I haven't obviously had to deal with it. I have a stepdaughter. We played a little bit of HeroClix, but she kind of outgrew that stuff before I managed to indoctrinate her enough into the plastic crack, as it were. I will say, when I first read the question, I thought it was more about how do you find the time to leave your kids to go, as opposed to.
You know what? That I might have been reading it wrong. Hold on.
I think that was more what the question was.
Oh,
like, how do you have time to go?
Okay, I'm going to change that.
Which really, you're the best person to answer that question because
also
you're the only one who has young
as
kids
a
who have to
parent
worry
of
about going.
3 young kids, a 10-year-old daughter and 2 6-year-old boys. My God, I'm terrible at reading comprehension sometimes. I'm also teaching my daughter how to play HeroClix, so it's that double meaning kind of got me. It's all about Support Network. It is very difficult to get out to tournaments. Sometimes one of us has to jump on the grenade, as it were, and let the other one just kind of go. Amber is usually pretty quick to jump on the grenade if it's a bigger competitive tournament. As an example, right now we're looking at states, and there's 2 states that are reachable within a reasonable distance of us. There's New York states, and there is provincials in Whitby, both within a reasonable drive of us. And depending on whether or not I can catch a ride with somebody, will depend on whether or not I can go to New York or Whitby. But we can't get a sitter, which means only I will be going to either one. Amber has already said she's okay with me, but we're still trying to find a way to get somebody to watch the kids during 1 or 2 of them. Local events, sometimes we will bring the kids. Like if we go to Dolly's, we bring all of our kids because it's a short walk, and we just kind of, with our sons, it's a treat for them. They get to play with, their tablets, their iPhone, or their cell phones. Like we have some old cell phones we let them play games on. Sometimes as a treat, I'll bring my Switch so that the boys can play Cuphead because they really love that game. They're out of their minds, but they're going to be the best gamers in the world the second they figure that game out because that game's hard. But yeah, it's not easy to balance that for sure. And sometimes one of us does have to kind of jump on the grenade. But that's the thing where my experience is unique. Both myself and Amber play HeroClix. And as a result, one of us is a little bit more patient with it. If you are of a couple where only one of you plays the game and only one of you goes out, it gets very taxing on your significant other if you're constantly going out for events but not giving them the time to do their thing, right? So you have to figure out a balance where you do something, they do something. Where Amber is kind of stepping away from competitive hero clicks mostly. She's now starting to play Pokemon, the trading card game, and she's been going to Dolly's on Fridays to play that, which is helpful. It gets her out of the house. When she goes, she brings the kids with her, but I come and take the kids because this is around the time I get off of work, and it's kind of like a weird scheduling thing. So she's with them for maybe 10, 15 minutes in the store, and then I come get them, and that's it. So, but you have to find a way to balance all of those things. If your significant other, like it doesn't matter if you're the husband or the wife, or the husband or the husband, or the wife or the wife, or whatever your marital situation is, you got to make sure you maintain a balance where both of you are winning, and you cannot always be leaving for hero clicks while leaving the other one behind to just always be watching the kids. You have to take your weekends with the kids, and you also have to take a weekend without the kids for the both of you and manage that. You have to balance each time with each other, time with the kids, and time apart perfectly, and you cannot leave one person in the situation just stranded. I think that's ideally the best way to kind of look at it. So maintain that balance and make the sacrifice sometimes. Sometimes you have to look and go, I can't make this X tournament. I could technically try to go to 3 or 4 state events. If barring, rides and scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. But the problem is especially with the way that States is being run this year, 9th and the 10th I can go, but the 16th, the next weekend having the 16th, and the 16th is my daughter's birthday, and that's also the same weekend as Amber's birthday. I am not allowed to go out that weekend. I have to love my daughter and wife and make sure that they are taken care of. And that's a sacrifice I have to make at the expense of my own fun. I have been lucky and blessed that Worlds, Nationals has not been like a problematic event. But I couldn't go to Nationals this year, U.S. Nationals or Origins, because of 3 snow days and 5 kids' sick days just blew my time off and my work time off away. And that's another thing, is like your available time off gets affected by your children being sick and so on and so forth. So work-life balance is hard. Marriage-life balance is even harder. So make sure if you're going to a lot of HeroClix events, be aware of your significant other, be aware of your life situation, and make sure that you're not the only one getting time away from everything to do things. Make sure your wife or husband is getting their time to do their things too. Okay, that's Jason's marital advice portion of the show. Mike, I know you and your live-in girlfriend, share duties with the kid.
Partner,
yeah. Anything you need to share that might be similar, different, that sort of thing?
No, again, I agree, though. It is the same. You don't even necessarily have to have kids to have to worry about that with your partner, and making sure that your life has balance, that they don't start to feel like they're a secondary thing to HeroClix. We're all very passionate about HeroClix, but you got to remind those people in your life that they are equally important, more important than HeroClix.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
I will add on to what you were answering in the first part is also helpful information too, though. I think people out there may be interested in bringing their kids too and stuff. I will say that one note I think is a good idea. If you're thinking of bringing your kid and starting to have them actually play in tournaments, beat them at home first. Yes. And I don't mean beat them, hitting them. I don't mean that.
Do that. No, just kidding.
I'll give you something to cry about. Look how well I turned out. Anyway, no, as in win against them. Like, see how they handle losing at home in a safe environment first. Because if all your HeroClix games have always been they win and you let them win and whatever the case is, you may not know what you're in for the first time they sit down across from someone who's not their friend, not their dad, not their mom, and they lose. Better to find out what that's like for them at home first, in a safe place, teach them how to lose well, then bring them out. Teaching someone how to win is easy. Teaching someone how to lose well, that's very hard. So do that first before you bring them out.
Yeah. I to kind of add on to that, we'd made sure that Alexis is able to handle losses in games. Our son's not so much right now. We're actually kind of trying to teach him how to lose at board games, and it's not going well.
Right?
So, and I don't think I'm ready to teach them HeroClix if they can't handle that yet. So
Exactly. I think it's a really good barometer for where kids are at emotionally and what they're prepared for and whether or not they can engage in this game in a competitive format. They might be able to do casual, but even then they might not even be able to do casual if they can't handle losing, period.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're putting a different emphasis on it. They don't care about the prize. They don't care about big tournaments. And their mind's just like, I'm playing a game. The goal of this game is for me to win every time. You know?
Yeah. Jay, you have a girlfriend?
Does he?
Sorry, you cut out.
I said you have a girlfriend. Anything you can share?
Sometimes you don't have to go to every tournament just because it's technically possible. You basically, you cover that in great detail. Yeah, I mean, make sure you're spending enough time with your significant other and you're not spending every minute of spare time doing a fun thing without them. Like she doesn't play yet. I'll get her to start to play eventually. But for now, it's basically my thing. So I make sure I spend time with her and not just play HeroClix every single moment that it is technically possible, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, they are another person. It's not all about your fun. It's a partner system sort of thing. So,
Can't believe they came to us for relationship advice.
Oh boy.
We're the worst. All right. Andrew Fairweather is the last question on Facebook. Then we're going to go to the Discord. What will future X-Men meta teams look like, do you think? Do you think Retaliators should be minimized for the competitive scene? I'm not sure what we mean by that, but be careful of Retaliators now with Iceman out there. Iceman's going to get coming for your Retaliators, boy. He's going to charge through them. But as far as future X-Men meta teams, I keep wanting to build with the Blackbird. I cannot deny that I keep wanting to do it. But the Vulture scares the hell out of me still with that. So I don't know. I feel like there's so close to something with Dupe and the Blackbird. But I can't be the one that comes up with it, to be honest. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
I guess I'm slightly confused by the question. Like,
what will the future of X-Men meta teams be?
Oh, specifically X-Men meta teams?
Yeah. I don't know if he's talking about the set. I mean, the set cracks a lot of things wide open, but X-Men.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to say. Again, because right now it's a smorgasbord for X-Men. I mean, because we still have Xavier School, which is legal. So you've got all those IDs, you got all those figures. We already know how ridiculous the faculty are, like that Wolverine and that Cyclops. We're gonna see them until retirement. I mean, I would be amazed if they somehow they're too good with the ID option. Wolverine, I mean, even though that Wolverine's good as a 50-point figure on a team, right? We've seen that before. So I think all we've seen is that now there's more options for them, and the introduction of Colossal Retaliators just gives them a resurgence, really. I mean, X-Men teams are already a solid team. There's plenty of room to drop a Moira and an ID card to have a 30-point Dark Phoenix Retaliator. So on top of that, the Rachel Phoenix is good to use too, because you can have her at low points, and there's TK for your team.
Yep.
TK's nothing to ever sneeze at. So X-Men will be great, and attaching to the whole thing about Retaliators being limited, in spite of things coming into the game that I may not like when ID cards came into the game, I didn't like ID cards. Mm-hmm. I still am not a fan of ID cards. I hate this whole calling in off the sideline stuff. I like building a team and having the team on the map. But I'm resistant to any kind of limiting or whatever. If WizKids makes the stuff and puts the stuff out there, then it's out there.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the figures. People went and spent the money on them. We should be playing them. Once in a blue moon, they make a glaring mistake, Faust, and have to get rid of that glaring mistake. But I think that they need to be as hands off as much as possible. bad power wordings and some erratas and so forth, yes. Like Proteus needs some kind of errata, yes. But actively starting to restrict figures or players' ability to put it just feels like a really slippery slope that I wouldn't want to go into. Retaliators are there. Hey, man, I pointed out to somebody when they first came along, it only made business sense. Because when they were first making Colossals and putting them in, and before they decided on Colossal Retaliation, people really weren't jazzed about the Colossals. They didn't really do a lot. They ended up being giant targets on the map.
Oh,
People
look at
weren't
my
playing
600
them,
point figure that I'm never going to use.
right?
Yeah.
So people weren't playing them. The drive to buy them was low. Super boosters weren't going to be as great a thing until, boom, hey, let's have a low point dial thing on them and everybody can fit them on a team and they just sit there until they come over and smote somebody or whatever. Boom, Colossals galore. Everybody's playing Colossals all over the place. Now it's like every third or fourth set we're going to get a super booster set where we get more Colossals. We're not going to see a diminishing of them. I mean, it's a business first and foremost. WizKids wants to make a variety of product, wants us to buy the variety of product, wants to keep us buying the variety of product. So that's what they're going to do. So anyway, that was a long rambling, I know, to answer a simple question.
It's all good. Jay, anything you want to add?
I don't think that Retaliator Swarms are as good for multiple reasons because, I mean, positioning an Iceman Column to get all those KOs is not going to be easy, but it is possible. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it almost feels redundant or leaving points on the table to get sniped to play Retaliators on map, assuming that they're only there to retaliate. Like Mangog only retaliates. But, like, Flora's increased map roll and Groot does other stuff. But, like, playing multiple Carnages feels less good because you just have the ID card options that are obviously easier to get off the map and harder to kill, especially considering that of those options, maximum, because of all the different ones that are primes, you could play Storm on a bounty, Rachel Summers is a bounty, Magneto bounty and regular, and then Iceman. Like, you could play 6 of these. And then you probably still have room for, like, your Jean Grey, your Cyclops, that sort of thing. You still have a good team going on. And you just have all these Retaliators on your ID cards. So I just feel like a monster team with, like, a bunch of Carnages, whatever, is just not necessarily as good as just playing these off IDs, assuming that your team could do damage to make up for the fact that you're not calling in, like, a damaging, normal Cyclops, whatever, every single turn. And it's easier to spin the Blackbird now because Iceman's 15 points. So you just need to just clear the Blackbird once, and then you get the roll +1 because you have a student ID option, can't be KO'd. The bounties can't be KO'd outside of, like, very specific non-attack stuff, which is not impossible but less common. And yeah, Dupe is really hard to kill. Blackbird is good. Maybe some of the stuff that was good against those sort of teams becomes less good. World, there wasn't a Kobo Trader that like a Kobo Trader would really hurt the Blackbird because you need to do actions with it. But Kobo Trader didn't even crack top 2. Obviously, it's still good, but there could be a perception that because it didn't even do that well, that's just less common. Going to be less common going forward. So I guess we have to see and reevaluate what teams are being played less of and what's coming out as a new thing and what's seeing increased numbers. But yeah, I definitely think there's some potential. Emily and I talked about using Dust because Dust is just really good, and Dust can put out just enough smoke cloud to actually cover the Blackbird in stealth. So you have to evaluate the whole environment, but I do think that, like, even just all these Retaliators off IDs is a big thing, especially because depending on what if you're not playing Q and if you're not playing Vulture, your prime slot is open. So depending on what you think you need between Storm and Colossus, so.
Mm-hmm. All right. In the Discord, there's just some exclamations, including David pointing out that his wife is going to learn how to play with the WWE clicks. Awesome. See, this is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And there's some jokes about Powerpuff Girls clicks. And then David C. said he's going to mind control my team to attack my Proteus. My team doesn't do any damage.
Like I said, you got to do damage.
All right. That said, let's check in the chat, see if anything's going live or going crazy. It's been a little bit quiet here. Yeah, not much in the way of questions. I'm sorry that NSCAP11 from Puerto Rico. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry that you got to wait on Dark Phoenix Saga like the rest of the USA. And hello to Edward Sheldon, who's popped in as well. All right. But Rick Yell, sorry. He's got the Y in his last name. Rick Yell pointed out that there are a couple characters with Pulse Wave that might be good against Nimrod. So Pulse Wave's just good. I think it was I was kind of doing a searching around just to double check, and I totally forgot about Lucy in the Sky from the Secret Wars Battle World Fast Force. The Carolina Dean alternate figure. That's got running shot Pulse Wave off the starting click with a special Pulse Wave that does 2 damage instead of 1 to all targets. That's pretty good.
Ooh.
So think about that. All right, but that's it. Anything you guys want to add before I start wrapping up? All right, cool. Now I want to thank Mike and I want to thank Jay for joining me today. I also want to take a second to thank our longtime sponsor, MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders $3 a month. Gets you brain dumps from some of the greatest greatest players in the game of HeroClix, as well as battle reports directly from champions. They write articles for them every time they win, and you get a little bit of insight from all of those players, and just occasionally some crazy players like myself. I'm sure Patrick's about to bug me for an article soon enough. That said, I also want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. You guys can check that out. Any valuation gets you access to the patron Discord, as well as our patron hangout. We also have a $10 mark where you can get patron action tokens that we send out bi-monthly. We're kind of waiting on our last delivery of them to arrive here. So that said, guys, States Rock World Cup, or Rock Cup, sorry, it's not Rock World Cup anymore, it's just Rock Cup. So Rock Cup and States is around the corner. Get those teams together, start coming up with some ideas, especially for you guys playing teams, because you got a lot to think about. We'll talk about that next week. But in the meantime, get some practice in, because practice will make your teams better. Have a good night, everybody.